In the next half an hour or so, you will get the most in-depth tutorial on Freeform, the new great app that Apple just introduced on WWDC. So stay with me to learn everything there is to need to know about this great app. Hi, Apple has released its new app Freeform this week for the latest betas of iOS, iPadOS, as well as macOS. The app has been announced on this year's WWDC, but it hasn't made it into the public releases of iOS and iPadOS 16 so far. It will be made available with the upcoming releases of iOS and iPadOS 16.2, as well as macOS Ventura 13.1. But now that Apple has unveiled it, I can not only give you an in-depth walkthrough, but also a complete tutorial with this video, which will cover all of its features, strengths and weaknesses, and what you can use it for. So what is Freeform? Apple defines it as a place to bring your ideas to life. It is an infinite canvas app where you can draw, write, place objects like images, documents, and shapes. Just looking at the presentation on WWDC made us all hunger for this app. And now, without further ado, let me give you the most complete tutorial on this app. You will become a master within a few minutes of your time. I will cover everything on an iPad, but also on the iPhone and the Mac app. So, let's get started. Now, before you start using the Freeform app, you have to make sure that sync is switched on any device. By default, it is off. So you go into your settings and then into your iCloud under your name. And there you just go to show all apps using iCloud. And there you go in the first palette. The last app is Freeform, and you see I have it switched on, but by default it is switched off. So just make sure you switch it on your Mac, on your iPad, and on your iPhone, so that all of these devices use iCloud for Freeform. So here we are in Freeform. That's what it looks like. You see I already have 3 so-called boards created. Boards are the documents of this app. So what in Pages is a page or a document is called a board here in Freeform. On the left side you see the typical sidebar. It looks a bit like, reminders, and there you have all boards, recent, shared, favorites, and recently deleted boards in this case, because I deleted some test boards. What you also see is currently no way to create folders or tags here. That is something that I'm really missing, because there is no way to structure your boards other than by time or by name. So you have, for instance, all boards or recent boards, by time, but that's it. No folder possibility, and you can't drag and drop folders over each other. So to create groups, currently no folders here. That's sad. Otherwise, just go over this one here. So you can create a board, and you can create a board with this little button here. Just bam, create a board. It's called Untitled. We'll go into this one soon. Otherwise, you can just present it in icon or in list format. Just click on icons. You have a bit more preview and list format. And you can, I prefer the icons. You can sort it by date, either ascending or descending. Just click on it and it's descending, and so and that's descending, the other one ascending. And or by name, it's untitled, so also by name you can ascending and descending. If you sort it by date, you can also group them. So you use groups, which then brings you these groupings of yesterday, today, and so on. If you press select, you can select multiple boards to either duplicate them or delete them. And if you have a bit more boards than I have, you can also search for board names, something like Untitled. That's it. Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. There is not much more here in this overview. Let's go into one board. Let's create a new board and see what we can do inside a board. Here we are inside a new board. Let's go over the elements of the interface. On the left side, where it's untitled, you can of course just create a new name. Let's rename it into My First Board. Bam. Other than renaming it, you can duplicate it, favorite it, then it's displayed in the favorites folder. And you can find text in here, but only text, not handwriting currently. And you can hide this grid, this dot grid if you want. I like it because it shows me where the alignments are. And you can also export it as PDF, or you can print it here. So that's everything you can do here in this menu. Then you have over here the tool panel. You have handwriting, where you use the Apple Pencil if possible. It looks a bit like the pencil drawer in Apple Notes or in the markup tool, but there are some additions here and some things are missing. So for instance, what I'm really missing here is the ruler. There is no ruler here, unfortunately, but we do have what is called the text tool, which is this pencil with the A. That means if you scribble something, hello, it changed it into hello with an A. Yeah, still in German. It's set to German here. So this is the way we Germans do, right? Hello. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty easy. Let's go to the next tool. This is just the regular pen tool, and you can just write, this is a test. But that's it. By the way, for each of these pencils, you can click and hold on these ones. And then you can select the line, thickness, and the opacity. So let's do it thicker. Let's do a really thick and a bit more opaque one. And on the right side, you can change the color. So you have a color palette here, or you can really go into color management inside here. So where you can select from a grid, from a spectrum, or you use the sliders here, and you know, let's just do some interesting color here, a bit more bluish. Yeah, that looks nice. And as you can see over here, I can add colors to this palette here. So let's put this also into the mix here. You see these colors here, which have two colors in the circle. That means that the opacity is not 100%. For instance, if I now change this one here to 74% in this case, you see that this is the original color at 100%, and this is the selected color at this case 74%. I can add it here to the next side, and you see I have now more than 10 colors, and so it creates a new page here where I have this color saved. Then you have also the color picker, and the color picker you can drag to anything on the screen. So let's pick this color here from the stage manager from this window. Yep, and I got it here. That's the color that you do. Let's continue with the tools. So this one here, pencil tool, where you can just, you know, do something like this. This one is a bit more like a crayon effect here. You see this, great. This one is new. What this does is it creates a Bezier curve, you know, where you just can create nearly any form you like, and it creates the shape. This one here is the next tool, is the eraser. I can just erase stuff that I've just drawn. And this one is the select tool, which is also known. You can just select it, and then you can either drag it, you can delete it, you can copy it, you can resize it, and you can of course change the color of this. Also, what you see here, once you selected something, you have these layer symbols. Now they are not active here. So let's change this one and move this one over here. And now you see, so let's make this a blue color so it's a bit more visible for you. And now I can move it, for instance, into the background. You see, this is here into the background, and now it's up in the front. And then we have, by the way, on the left side, we do have undo and redo. And in the three dot menu, we do have the capability of auto minimizing. That means that the tool palette minimizes once you selected the tool and leave it. I usually don't use that because I want to have the tool palette on screen. And then you can say you want to draw with the finger. Since I have a pencil here, I usually deselect that. And then you can go to your pencil settings here. That was the pencil tool palette. Let's go to the next tool over here, which is the post-it tool. The post-it tool, you double click it, you write something in there. This is my list, and task A and task B. And what you can do is, if you click on it, you get this floating menu. This floating menu you get with all objects here. There are several options depending on the type of object. You can select the color here, and with a post-it note you have a limited selection of colors. Let's go for this one. You can get some text attributes like the size of text. Let's do this a bit bigger. and this one increases and decreases the font size. This is italic, underline, of course. And this one is the alignment, center and the right, left. And the vertical alignment is here. So what you can do with this is you can either say that you change the attributes like dash, numbered, bullet for everything in the post-it, or you can really select, go inside and select the text, and then you have here the fields down there, and you can say this is bulleted, and I want to increase the level, and of course since I do bullets now I can remove those. Yeah, that's actually what you can do with this. You can resize it and you can move it around, and that's more or less everything. This plus symbol here means you can duplicate every object. This is for every object here, so I can duplicate it and change it, and then I can put it in the trash, and the three-dot menu gives me the option here to put it in the back. You know, you have also this layers tool here. You can cut, copy, duplicate. You can lock something so that you can't move it away. You can copy the style, and you can save this as an insert style. Now, if I save something as an insert style, that means each new element, for instance, each new post, it will be created in this color and with this font. This subscription is used by assistive technologies such as VoiceOver for people who need it. So this is actually great if you are working together with people who need VoiceOver to really gather the information. Great. Next, let's go to shapes. This is the shape tool here. So you have shapes, basic geometry, objects, animals, nature, food, so a lot, symbols, education, art, science, people, places, activities, transportation, and you have lots and lots and lots of symbols here. You can go through all of them, and you can also search for this one. So let's, for instance, search for laptop and select something. There it is. And this is something I want to show you. You know what? With all shapes, you can only move them by clicking on the blue part or the color part. If you click with your finger, or in this case with the trackpad, inside the white part, you're not touching the shape, you're touching the canvas. So you see, I'm touching now the canvas and I'm moving the canvas. And if I click on the blue part, the color part, I can now move the object. It's a bit odd, but that's the way it is. Okay, so other than that, let's create another laptop here. Move them and move them over and move them over a bit. You know, that's also the interesting thing with the canvas, is because you have an infinite canvas, you can really move information out of the way and go to a new place and start something new over here. So what you've seen here is also you have these alignment guides here, where if you're trying to align things, you see. And if I create another one here, by the way, if I click on something, you see here the floating panel for objects. It looks similar, so you can change the color, you can change the text information, you can duplicate it, and let's do this one here. And then you see first it's not only aligning, but it's giving me also spacing information. So now they are spaced evenly, which looks good. And now let's connect them. And how do we do that? Now in the basic category, there is a line, there is an arrow, and there is a connector. This is a connector. By the way, if you're selecting the arrow, for instance, you find out this is an arrow you can use, but you can't connect it here. It's not connecting to this PC or to this laptop. So actually, you should not use them if you want to connect shapes. So what you do is you go for this connector, and this one here, drag, and now it's connected to this computer, and now it's connected to this computer, and now you have a line here, and if I move one object, you see the connection stays, and it walks around the object here, which is great. And what you also can do is you click on this one here, and you see you have these blue connectors here, which are connecting the object, but you have this green handle here, where you can change the shape of the line in this case. And you see also now I selected this connector, and you can change the size and shape and color. Let's make it a bit colorful, a bit more colorful, make it a bit thicker. Now that looks good. You can also add arrows at the beginning and at the end if we want to. And we can also define whether this should be a straight line or a squared line. So a squared line makes sense if I'm using this one here a bit more like this one. So that's a square line, and of course I can go back to the curved line, which makes it a bit more fluid here. That was about shapes and lines. This one, the next tool, is about text. Now you can just enter text here. Network setup. Let's do it this way. And of course with the text you can change the font size. You can change the font itself. If you go to this one here, you can change bold, italic, underline. You can change the alignment. You can also make it a list format. You can increase or decrease the level. And you can, with this AA button, you can select a font. And there are quite a lot of fonts here. That's nice. Let's go for, I don't know, let's go for Verdana. See, change the font here. This is great. Otherwise I can duplicate it, trash it, or the usual menu. The last tool is the image and file tool. So here you can insert photos or videos. You can shoot a photo with your camera. You can scan a document inside, or you can create a link. Now a link is interesting. Let's do insert it. And you see you get this card with the preview at times, or with a symbol at times. You can resize it, and if you click on it, you can view it, you can edit the link, you can view it here, and it just opens the page. And you can duplicate, trash it, or lock it, and so on. These were the tools, the toolbar. On the right side, you do have an undo button, and if you click and hold on it, you can also redo. So you can undo and redo. And then you have the share menu. The share menu is really powerful. And this is about collaboration, and I will do this a little bit later. And this last button here is to create a new board. Just click here as a new board. We need to go back. Let's go into this board here, my first board. So the last thing here at the lower left is the zoom menu. And this is about, you know, the canvas size. You see, the minimum here is 10%, and the maximum is 400%, which is really zoomed in. You can do, of course, the same with a pinch gesture. You know, now I'm pinching with my finger as used to, and I can go out and in, which is usually the way I do this because it's much faster. You can move around this canvas with one finger, or in this case with the trackpad. And if you want to move stuff, you have to click and hold, and you can move it. Every object you can move it, you can resize it as usual. And of course you have these zoom to selection or zoom to fit content. Zoom to fit content. Selecting is a good way. How do you select? You press and hold until this little selection square comes and vanishes. Have you seen this? Do it again. There. And now I can drag and select. The other way to select is to select one object, and then with a trackpad or a mouse, you can just press the command key and select another object and another to create a selection and then move them. Or if you are on the iPad just with your fingers, you can press the first item and hold it with one finger, and then with another finger you press the other objects, and then you can move them around. That's selection. So now that we have, for instance, a selection, this one here, we can also say zoom to fit selection, which zooms in everything that's selected. Working with multiple objects. So you can select multiple objects by either, you know, holding until this selection tool comes up for a split second, and then now you can drag, or you can, you know, select, hold the first one with your finger, and then with another finger, you just select the other shapes. Now that I've selected, in this floating menu or the floating panel, I have now a grouping and arranging option. I click on that one, and you see I can now align these objects here. I can space them, or I can group them. Let's go for grouping first. So I create a group, and now these 4 objects are one group, and I can move them around. And of course, if I move them around and I later change my mind, I can then ungroup them. So let's talk about aligning. I'm selecting the laptops here, and I get this menu here, and I can align. I can left align, I can vertically center them, I can right align them, I can top align them, horizontally center align them, and bottom align them. Pretty self-explanatory, right? So let's horizontally center align them, like this one here. Now you see they were spaced out unevenly, right? So let's just take this one a bit further and select those laptops here. And then I can also use this spacing here. So let's space them out evenly horizontally with this one here. Yeah, looks perfect. Great. And then you have the option of combining. For the combining, let me show you this with two elements to give you something like this one here. And let's make this element a bit of another color, so it makes it a bit easier to see. Let's give it a yellow and make it a bit bigger. So now let's do it this way here. You can use these combining shapes to create a new shape. Combining means you have 4 ways of combining. So the first one is you combine everything from these 2 shapes and create a new shape that looks like this one. Then you have this one here that combines the intersection of the shapes. So only where the shapes intersect will create the new shape and the rest will be thrown away. That looks like this one. This would be the part of the stem. And the third option is, this one is also interesting now, the top shape, in this case the arrow, where they intersect, that will cut from the underlying shape and then the top shape will be thrown away. So this will look like this. So the stem would be cut out here. And the fourth option is that both shapes will stay, but where they intersect, it will be cut out. And that would look like something like this one. So these are the 4 ways you can combine shapes. That's actually a pretty great way of creating new shapes. By the way, if you have selected multiple forms or multiple shapes, you can also, of course, in one swoop, change the color of them without needing to create. Now they look like, this looks like a new form, but these are still 2 forms. And you can also say you want to have no fill. It will be interesting because, you know, then you need to create at least a line color and then they are not filled. So with this one here, you can change the fill color and the line color. Text, you can add it, but as usual here, now text can only be on those lines, not on the canvas, not on the transparent part. That's about grouping, aligning, and combining shapes. And by the way, one thing you can also do is you can rotate shapes or any object. This is not so obvious. You have to use, on the iPad, you have to use 2 fingers and then you can, you know, turn them around with 2 fingers. So currently, I think there is no way you can rotate other than with your fingers, which is a bit of a bummer. If someone of you finds another way, please write this in the comments. Thanks. So let's talk about some things I'm really missing or what I think could be really improved here. The first one is in the overview. I'm really missing an organizational feature like folders and or tags. I'm really hoping Apple will bring this shortly and I don't have to wait 1 year for it. Otherwise, within, for me, this is actually a great tool for creating diagrams, but I wouldn't compare it to OmniGraffle. You know, if you're really heavy into diagramming, you need a special tool for that one. OmniGraffle is, of course, way more capable than this one. But for, you know, easy flowchart-like diagrams, it's pretty great. You can do stuff like that one. And a simple network diagram like this one also, you know, just works. Of course, you see the line, you can see here the lines, you know, they're not really great because, you know, they move inside the shape here. And there is no way you can change this. That's I would say, a glitch. Maybe that will be fixed soon. I don't know. Otherwise, for instance, what I found out is you can't put, for instance, with these laptop symbols here, you can't put actually the text where it is right now, PC1. That doesn't work. If let me show you. If I create a new laptop here from scratch, laptop, I'll click this one in. Where it is this one, right? This one here. Now, if I add text to this, yeah, I just double click it and then I type PC10, you see nothing happens. Why? You see this little plus symbol here. That means that there is more. That text somehow is hidden because the size of this is too small. Now let me resize it here and you must make it really big, and there it is. And come on, really, you must make this laptop so big to see this little font. Let me make it even bigger here. So I mean, and I found out that the white space here, you know, where actually the display should be, is not part of the shape. The shape is really only the blue part here. This program is only capable to print text on the shape itself. That means within the blue frame here. And that's why it's put in it here. and not within, you know, where it won't make sense. And if I make the shape smaller, and that happens pretty fast, you know, it tries to make the font smaller, 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 and somehow it can't display it any longer, so it makes this little plus icon there. This is, I would say, pretty unusable for me if you do something like this one here, network diagram. So what I did is I removed this text here and I just created, I made it the regular size right now, something like this one. Yeah, something like this one here. Then I created a text field, and let's call this PC8. Center it, and then you can also group them. And this is right now a group. I can move it over here. Let's say this is now PC8. I think what is really missing is the capability of putting the associated text for shape, you know, to position it a bit more exactly where you want it and not be limited to the colored form here. Also, what is not possible is having these lines with text. So there's no text icon here. You can't add text here. So what if you want to have text on a line, you have to do the same thing. You have to do is to switch. That's a cat 7 connection, and you have to move it over here and yeah, do something like this one. It's not very ideal. I mean, it would be better the way OmniGraffle and other apps do it is you can really have a text which is aligned with a line, and that would be way better if we can do that. That's actually what I really hope they would add sooner than later. Otherwise, I'm really satisfied with the program and looking forward to work more with it. So let's talk about Freeform on the Mac. It looks quite similar. Actually, it looks nearly identical. But let's go into our little board here. Of course, you can see more. The controls, they all look more or less identical. The only thing that's missing, because the Mac doesn't have any type of pencil support, or you can't even touch the screen. I mean, you can touch it, but all you get is a bit of smut on there. So you don't have any pencil icon here. But what you can do is you have a menu here, and in the menu under Insert, you can say import from iPhone or iPad. And if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can take a photo, you can scan a document, you can add a sketch from each of these ones. So let's go to add a sketch, and then what it does is it creates a canvas on my iPad. And then I have the iPad sketch overview. Now, what you see here is not the pencil palette that you have in the Freeform app, but this is the classical palette that you have on the iPad. So you have your ruler back, okay, you can use this one, but you don't have the text tool, the pencil, the scribble text tool. You have these classical things, but I can do things here, and when I'm done, I can add the sketch here and it gets inserted. But what I find interesting is what he's doing there. Let's make this a bit bigger here. So it's inserting the line that I draw, so the image, and it's also inserting this Apple drawing format's drawing. I don't know why. What I do is actually I delete that. So now I've inserted a drawing. I do have my menus here. You see I can also export as PDF. I can share it. Let's go to sharing a little bit later. You can use tabs here, by the way, specific on the Mac. So you can't use tabs on the iPad currently. So you can have multiple boards here open via tabs. You can have even multiple windows open, so you can have multiple boards in Windows is open, which you can use with Stage Manager on the iPad. Other than that, yeah, you do have these classical Mac things like make uppercase, make lowercase, so you can work a bit with text here and spelling, but otherwise you have the same tools here. You can add shapes over here. So you have your post-it here, it's the same one. In the shape menu, you also have this little thing here. So you can, other than, you know, selecting one of these shapes, you can also draw here with the mouse. And you can have these lines, so you can create something like this one here. So you can create a form like this one here, and to end it, you have to double click it. And then, yeah, I do have a Bezier tool here. It's just in another menu. And then I can use this one here and edit it, line and all this stuff, you know. Can create. Yeah, it looks actually just the same. Cool. So other than that, the text tool is the same. And by the way, here you have also the ability to add photos, documents and sketches from the iPad or the iPhone, and you can also add, of course, documents here directly. So here the document picker is a special symbol, while on the iPad and the iPhone it's in the image tool. Other than that, the Mac looks more or less identical. You have menus here for aligning. You can use them for grouping and so on, but most of them you can use just the same. So if I do this one here, I can use the grouping tools here, the aligning and distribution. So yeah, that's the Mac. So let's take a look at Freeform on the iPhone. The layout is a bit different, but all the options are here. So you have your overview, all boards. You can create a new board just from the start menu here. You can go into all boards. You can sort it just like that. And you can, let's go into the first board that we had on the iPad here. You see the tools are at the bottom, and the share menu is there, the 3-dot menu is there. You can do all of the stuff that you can do on the iPad. The only thing that's different is the pencil palette. Now, since no iPhone is currently supporting an Apple Pencil, Apple didn't give you the text scribble pencil, so the one with the A, so you can't scribble text into this iPhone. What you can of course do is you can insert a text tool and type on your keyboard, right? So that's what you can do here. Other than that, you can use you can just do all the sketching here with your finger. When you click done, you get back to the tools selection, and of course you can enter text manually by just typing. And that's about the iPhone. Let's talk about collaboration. So what you can do is, about collaboration, you can enter the same board from different machines, and you can use this with your own account. So I can work at this time, and that's what I'm showing you. You can work on the iPad and the Mac here simultaneously, or you can add people by just inviting them. In the share menu, you can define whether anyone with a link can join this board or only invited people. Let's go for only invited people, or whether they can make changes or are only allowed to view this one. And also with this last toggle here, you can say, okay, others are allowed to invite other people into the board. So let's say I want to have the most restricted thing here, only viewing and only invited people. Okay, so then this would be something for like a presentation where people just can look, but they can't do anything. But for real collaboration, let's allow them to make changes. But in this case, I'm not allowing them to invite others to this board. Great. So then I'll send the invitation link with whatever tool I want. Let's go for mail. In this case, I'm inviting other people to this, and then comes up this one here, and then you can invite people and share my board, and that's it. And now let's go to, there is the mail, there is the invitation, and I click on that one, and it's retrieving and it's opening up. Okay, so that's all there is to. And now we can at the same time work on it. So let's see that. I'm now in this on my Mac, but let's also go on the same document right now on the iPad, and just let's do some things here. So I will enter some shapes. And you see, at the same time, you have this delay of 1 to 2 seconds, and it adds it to it. And let's scribble something. Let's write something with red, and go in there and say, this is an arrow. And you see, yeah, there it comes. And that's actually it. You are now collaborating with 2 people on the same board. And I think this has a lot of potential. Okay, that's it for now. That's it for collaboration. Wow, that was a fire hose of information, I know. But now you know everything you need to create beautiful boards on Freeform. I hope you have as much fun with it as I have. So that's it for now. I hope you will create some great stuff with this app. Please drop me a comment below what you will use Freeform for. And you should also check out my video about the 37 features your specific iPad model might or might not get with iPadOS 16. So check it out with the link at the end. See you next time. Bye.